Hello and welcome to this tutorial that's going to be looking at the benefits of engaging with nature and the ways in which it can support mental health and well-being. So why are we so interested in nature? Nature is all around us. It is impossible for us not to encounter nature at some point each and every day, whether by keeping a houseplant, looking out of our window, sitting in the garden, or going for a walk in nature. We are surrounded by its beauty, and we're also really quite capable of naturally absorbing all of the goodness that nature has to offer. So this tutorial is here because we want to convey an important message about nature and mental health. We want to say that nature is free, it's accessible, and it's a powerful source that can really support a healthy mind, body, and lifestyle. We want to encourage you through this tutorial to think differently about nature, why it is important to let it into our lives, and we'd like to help you think about that by giving you some different tools and ways to become more connected to nature so that you can really reap the rewards of doing so. So firstly, let's take things back a step and ask an important question. Why is nature so relevant for human health? Now, an emerging field of research suggests that human beings are actually really hardwired to orientate towards experiences that involve connecting with nature, and that we actually actively seek out opportunities, however small they might be, to be exposed to natural elements, to natural objects and organisms, because deep down we really recognise the significant and restorative effects that they can have on our mood, our energy and our health. For example, one study really looked into this. They looked into the recovery of patients depending on the view from their hospital bed. Those patients whose beds looked onto natural green spaces compared to those who had more industrial or city space views demonstrated much higher rates of well-being. They actually had greater recovery rates as well and fewer complications in their health once they'd been discharged from hospital. This study, amongst many others, encapsulates the importance of nature on our health and actually contributed to an entirely new body of science called ecology. This looks at the way organisms, like you and me, interact with their environment and how this supports a complete ecosystem for us as human beings and for the natural environments in which we live to coexist and to support one another to thrive. This research has gone on even further to develop innovative therapies that look at nature, that look at involving practicing being in nature, and that support our ability to grow, to heal and recover. So what are we actually saying here? Nature is a remedy, it's a tonic, a treatment, a therapy? Well, yes, it's actually all of those things. It is something that as a human being, you already possess the tools to be able to access. You already know how to connect with it and utilise it to support your own health and well-being. So really, just by broadening your perception of nature and how it can help you could actually lead to more clinically significant changes that could support longer lasting health. So what tools do you have and how could you use them to help you connect with nature? Now, before we talk about tools, I want to just address an important obstacle that can often prevent many of us from engaging fully with nature: avoidance. For many of us, and especially right now, the idea of going outdoors feels impossible. There may be physical constraints that limit your ability to get outside, or even the idea of being in nature may feel completely out of your comfort zone. Although it's not really within the remit of this tutorial to talk about how to overcome these feelings, we do want you to know that we recognise accessing nature is different for everyone. That means then we need to help you see the tools that you do have and can use so that you too can benefit from nature, whether you're indoors, outdoors, or somewhere in between. Let's look then at the tools you can use to connect with nature right now. Human perception. This is the first tool. The way that we think about nature strongly influences how we feel about being in nature. And if together the way we think and the way we feel about being in nature is quite negative, then we're much less likely to open ourselves up to opportunities to access it, and our behaviour towards being in nature becomes quite avoidant. In other words, we don't like going out. We don't like the cold. We don't like getting caught in the rain. We don't like it when it's hot. We don't like it when it's too dark. These ideas begin to build up beliefs about ourselves that prevent us from seeing and experiencing in ways in which nature can support us, help us, and even positively change the way that we behave, feel, and think. So our first tip is about honing in on your own perception of nature and being really honest with yourself about how this influences the way that you behave towards nature as well. The second tool we want to talk to you about is attention. This is about your ability to select, attend to, and concentrate on specific stimuli within your environment. The human brain has a dedicated region to support attention processing, the prefrontal cortex. Now that's right here, right at the front of your head, right at the front of your skull. It's filled with numerous neural pathways that support your ability to focus attention and process sensory information. This is really important because, as well as supporting attention, this part of your brain also supports cognitive processing, such as organisational skills and planning. It influences personality development too. It affects impulsivity, emotion control, and more complex behavioural adjustments as well, such as I can't do A until B happens. So the prefrontal cortex is really complex, but it's also a really, really important part of the human brain. So by using your tool of attention, which you have quite naturally, we all have it, if you can use this fully, you can sharpen these additional functional skills in the brain to support greater, more complete cognitive health. This has longer benefits as well, including improved concentration, mood regulation, and it can also reduce the risks of certain cognitive impairments such as stroke and dementia. So our second tip here is about fine-tuning that natural skill to focus your attention and doing that in such a way where you start to connect with nature and attend to the elements within it. For example, practicing mindfulness is a really positive way for you to start focusing on the present moment and the ways in which you can interact with nature. You can do this really simply, so by sitting by a window, on a park bench, or just anywhere that you find yourself, really quieten your mind of any thoughts that you may have there. Try to breathe deeply and just focus on what you can see and hear around you. Just focus on that mindfully, just for a few moments, and just recognise the difference in how you think and feel. This idea is about focusing your attention. This idea is about focusing attention in nature. This is your second tool. The third tool is about your senses. The human body contains millions of sensory receptors. These sit on the outer part of the human body, so on your skin, and they're connected to neural pathways in your brain within the sensory and the motor cortex. These influence how we experience things that we can see, taste, touch, hear. Not only that, but how we interpret them cognitively and how we respond to them, both emotionally and behaviourally. Our senses are really important because when we think about the tools that we have to be able to connect with nature, this is probably the most important one of all. Our senses are naturally heightened when we enter into nature. You may notice this yourself when you're outdoors, how perhaps you experience weather more dramatically, or you're more drawn to trees or interesting animals, or even how you pick up on sounds or smells more intensely. Remember when I said earlier on that your brain is hardwired to connect with nature? Yep, that's exactly what's happening here. Your brain is encouraging you to engage with and connect with nature. So just imagine if you took the additional step and engaged the way that your brain is encouraging you to. So when you see a tree full of birds, stop, look, take it in. When you feel the wind on your face, stop, take a breath. and connect with how restorative that feels. When something smells beautiful, stop and smell it. You get the idea. These moments are really vital because if you stop and engage, that's when you're really going to see the benefits. Yes, enjoyment and pleasure. Yes, satisfaction. Yes, relaxation. But it's so much more than that. We see chemical changes in the brain too. We see releases in oxytocin. This is a feel-good hormone when you touch things like leaves, grass, or other natural objects. We see a release of dopamine. This is a reward hormone when we connect with things around us that bring us joy or fulfillment. Using your senses more to observe and experience nature is going to do you the world of good. Now, if you're thinking at this point, I'm indoors and I cannot do those things, then please don't worry, because the senses tool is especially significant if you cannot get outdoors to be physically in nature. Evidence has shown that bringing elements of nature into our homes through organisms like pets or objects, plants, photographs, or even fragrances can generate the same health benefits as those encountered outdoors. For example, houseplants. These are natural air purifiers because they do the opposite to what humans do. They release oxygen, which we need to breathe, and they absorb carbon dioxide, which we breathe out. This not only freshens up the air around you, but it also eliminates harmful toxins in the home. And what about pets? So we know that regular contact with pets can really reduce stress, anxiety, and low mood. It can ease loneliness, it can encourage playfulness, and it can even improve cardiovascular health. What about things like vitamins that you might miss from being outdoors? Well, don't forget, food is natural. Food is part of nature too. So think about ways that you could maybe vary your diet to include foods that are really high in antioxidants and vitamins such as B, D, and E. You can do this by eating things like more fish or mushrooms, eggs. But if perhaps you want to know more about this, and of course this isn't the remit of this tutorial, perhaps contact your local pharmacist or your GP to find out more about ways you can improve your natural diet health. So this third tool then is about encouraging greater activation of your senses and increased connection to the signs and signals that your senses are giving you when you interact with nature. So how about the fourth tool? This one is ability to thrive. This tool is one that all human beings have, and it's about this idea of engaging in activities whilst being in nature. Because we know that this stimulates our minds, our bodies, it encourages greater socialization, it supports self-esteem and creativity, and it helps us to feel just a lot more grounded in ourselves as people. So finding ways to thrive in nature is perhaps, again, a really important tool. This is also a completely personal experience. It's based on your preferences, your interests, your skills and your hobbies. The idea really is that you engage in a focused task that involves being in nature or interacting with it. So this could be listening to birdsong, walking with a friend or on your own, taking photographs of nature, drawing or painting nature, collecting natural objects like shells, driftwood, feathers or crystals, or how about planting vegetables or gardening or floristry? Swimming is also being in nature, fishing or playing sport outdoors, cooking outdoors. I mean, honestly, the ideas are endless. Anything that you can think of that you really like doing, think about whether you could just try it outdoors. I mean, if you're indoors, that could work too. But maybe just think about how you can bring some of those outdoor ideas in and really enjoy them when you're at home. For many, many more ideas about ways to thrive in nature, included with this tutorial is a free resource pack from the Mental Health Foundation that you can download and keep to help you continue thriving in nature for years to come. Now, throughout this tutorial, we have talked about why nature is important and the many different ways that we can use the tools that we already have to engage with and connect to nature more fully to support our mental health and well-being. However, we recognise that for many people, the idea of connecting with nature may be very new and feel a little strange. That's why there is one final idea we want to share with you. And this is about the amount of time we spend in nature. This is your fifth and final tool, time. A recent study demonstrated that just 120 minutes per week in nature successfully enhanced participant well-being and health outcomes. The pattern of improvement was actually really consistent across all age ranges, including amongst older adults and those who had more long-term health conditions. The benefits were observed whether the time was taken in short bursts or longer sessions, alone or with others. The effects were the same. So what does that mean? Well, 120 minutes per week is really just about over 15 minutes per day. Do you think that you could spare 15 minutes a day to connect with nature? If you could be contributing to meaningful and lasting changes to your health and supporting the longevity of your life. So our final tool then is about using the time that you do have to encourage more natural activity into your day. It can be varied, it can be solitary, it can be with others, but it's about finding 15 minutes every day to do at least one thing where you are perceiving, attending to and sensing nature positively, so that you can thrive with nature and continue to support your well-being both now and in the future. So find time, that's your final tool, find 15 minutes. This tutorial has been prepared for you by Bromley Lewisham and Greenwich Mind. We support adults who may need support to manage their mental health, or those who may be living with dementia. We've prepared for you a whole range of resources to support greater engagement with nature as part of Mental Health Awareness Week 2021. Please visit our website, which is www.blgmind.org.uk for more information. You can check us out on our socials, that's at BLGmind, or you can follow our hashtag for this campaign, which is BLGMindMHAW. For more information, or of course you can also share with us the many ways that you've actually connected with nature as a result of this tutorial or anything else you've seen on our website throughout this week. So remember, nature is free. It's a powerful source that can help you support a healthy mind, body and lifestyle. And you already possess the tools to help you make the most of it. So keep safe and keep thriving in nature. Thanks for watching.